On April 1, 2006, just before 2 a.m., cameras outside a Columbus bar caught a medical student saying goodbye to two women. No tape shows him leaving. Where did Brian Shaffer go? Brian Randall Shaffer was 27, a second-year student at Ohio State's College of Medicine, raised in Pickerington. In March, his mother died of myelodysplasia. Friends said he seemed to be handling it and also said it hit him hard. He was dating Alexis Wagoner, another medical student. Family thought a Miami proposal might come on the spring break trip they had already booked. He talked about starting a band in a Jimmy Buffett register even while grinding through exams. On March 31st, classes ended. He ate steak with his father Randy, who thought he looked wrung out from overnight studying and privately wished he would skip the bars. At 9 p.m. he met Clint Florence at the Ugly Tuna Saloona, a second-floor bar in the South Campus Gateway on High Street. An hour later he called Alexis in Toledo. The two men bar-hopped toward the Arena District, one shot at each stop by Florence's later account, then after midnight met Meredith Reed in the Short North. She drove them back to Ugly Tuna for a last round. Cameras show the three going up the escalator at 1:15 a.m. About 1:55, outside the bar, Brian talks with two young women, says goodbye, and steps out of the frame. Florence and Reed cannot find him. At 2 a.m. the bar empties. He is not in the crowd. Gateway cameras were there because the block had a crime problem. Officers used them as a net. They could watch people come down the escalator. They could not watch Brian come down it. Detective Andre Edwards later said that after a hard review he was 100% sure Shaffer did not leave that way. A service door stood near the last sighting, leading to a first-floor hall and, at the time, a construction zone with its own outside door. Officers thought a drunk student would have had trouble navigating it. One construction camera panned. Another was manual. Either could have missed a figure. Other nearby bars tapes showed no Brian. Monday he missed the Miami flight. Police were called. King Avenue, 6 blocks from the bar, still had his car. Inside the apartment nothing looked staged or searched. Dogs and dumpster checks around Gateway found nothing. Flyers noted a Pearl Jam stick figure tattoo and a fleck in one iris. Officers even went into sewers. Tips later sent them toward Michigan, Texas, Sweden. Eddie Vedder asked a Cincinnati crowd for information. None of it became a recovery. The physical world around Ugly Tuna looked as if he had stepped sideways out of it. Randy Shaffer took a polygraph and passed. Meredith Reed passed. Others who had seen Brian that night sat for tests. Clint Florence refused. The two women from the 1:55 tape were identified later and said in 2009 they had never been asked to take one. Florence's silence became its own exhibit for people who wanted a simple villain. It is also just a refused test. Derek Shaffer later said that once detectives got involved, Clint stopped talking to the family, and that if Brian had walked away on purpose Clint might know where. Alexis thought Florence was holding something and also thought Brian was probably dead. Alexis called the number every night, usually voicemail. One night in September 2006 it rang 3 times. She kept calling back just to hear the ring. Singular, the carrier said it might have been a computer glitch. A ping was still logged against a tower in Hilliard, 14 miles northwest of Columbus. That is not a body and not a confession. It is a machine saying the handset existed somewhere in a suburban sector months after the bar closed. Police kept taking Crime Stoppers tips years later, 2 a month by 2014, filling 4 boxes, none of them a break. Randy kept searching after the official grid widened. A psychic told him the body was in water near a bridge pier. He and Derek bought waders and walked the Olentangy. Police briefly looked at the disputed smiley face murder theory and then rejected it in line with the FBI. In September 2008, a windstorm dropped a branch on Randy while he cleared his Baltimore, Ohio yard. Neighbors found him the next day. Online condolences produced a note to Dad, Love Brian, U.S. Virgin Islands. It posted from a public Franklin County computer. Investigators called it a hoax. The father who had already buried a wife was now gone, and the son's file was still open. After Randy died, Neil Rosenberg, attorney for Florence, wrote volunteer investigator Don Corbett that a detective had led him to believe Brian might be alive, and that if so, Brian was the one hurting the family. Rosenberg said his client had already told what he knew. Columbus police have never adopted that as a finding. In 2014, they told Columbus Monthly they had 3 theories and would not describe them. A 2019 photo of a homeless man in Tijuana went to the FBI in 2020. Facial recognition said it was not Shaffer. In 2021, BCI released an age-progressed image at 42. The camera at Ugly Tuna still ends at 1:55. Every explanation has to clear the escalator at South Campus Gateway. An accident in the construction zone needs a body that dogs, dumpsters, and sewer searches did not find in 2006. A planned new life needs a man who left a car, clothes, exams, and a Miami ticket on King Avenue. Foul play needs a gap in a building that was supposed to be covered by cameras. Edwards' certainty about the escalator is the sharpest police sentence in the file. It does not name a door he used. It only names the public stair he did not walk down. The missing person clock on Brian Shaffer now runs in decades. Ohio later passed a statewide protocol for missing adults after families. Randy among them, said departments were improvising case by case. That law is part of his leftover. The man is not. No remains. No charging document. No verified sighting that survived a lab, including the Tijuana photograph the FBI rejected. The last agreed image is a conversation with 2 women on a campus bar camera just before 2 a.m. Then a step into a blind spot that never resolved on any other tape. He said goodbye on tape at about 1:55 a.m. The exit cameras never recorded him leaving the Ugly Tuna Saloona. Friends waited in a closing doorway and assumed he had gone home. A father later died under a falling branch still looking along the Olentangy. Columbus police say they have theories they will not describe. Brian Shaffer is still listed missing. This file stays at that timestamp on the gateway camera. If you want the next case built the same way, documents first. And no invented ending, stay with that rule. Subscribe if you want the next case broken down the same way.